China is in a better position to win this trade war than the United States is, and that's the reality. The United States is the world's biggest debtor country. We owe more than any other country, with things that isolate the United States and make it appear to be dangerous.
While America celebrates its supposed economic dominance, a financial earthquake is building beneath our feet that could shatter everything we think we know about global power. The trade war everyone thought would crush China is backfiring in ways that will leave you questioning everything you've been told about American supremacy. What if I told you that the very country we're trying to contain is actually containing us?
Ships in the ocean coming from China, stacked high with containers of goods to be sold in America, that are stopped on the high seas, turned around, and go back to China to wait and see what's going to happen.
Remember when politicians promised that slapping massive tariffs on China would bring them to their knees? Well, here's the reality check nobody wants to discuss. Ships loaded with Chinese goods are literally turning around in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, not because China can't afford to lose American customers, but because they found something far more valuable than our market.
Winners and losers will be those on the two sides, the better able to handle this situation.
Think about this for a second. We impose tariffs so brutal that practically nothing made in China reaches American shores anymore. The Chinese retaliated, sure, but here's where it gets interesting. They didn't panic. They didn't come crawling back begging for mercy. Instead, they did something that should terrify every American economist. They found alternatives.
China is at the peak of its program of many years to build strong alliances. These countries of the BRICS comprise more than half of the population of this planet Earth.
BRICS isn't just an acronym anymore. It's become America's worst nightmare. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa started as 5 countries with a shared vision. Today, they've expanded to include over 20 nations, representing more than half of the world's population. Let me put this in perspective. America represents 4.5% of global population while trying to economically arm wrestle an alliance that controls over 50% of humanity.
The U.S. alliance with Canada has never been poorer than it is today. The same applies to Mexico, and the same applies to the rest of Europe.
Meanwhile, our traditional allies are distancing themselves faster than you can say 51st state. Canada just elected leaders specifically because they promised to resist American pressure.
Japan did something it has not done before, telling the United States, we may not lend you any more money. Your government is too deep in debt.
Japan, our biggest creditor, the country that has been bankrolling our debt for decades, recently told us they might stop lending money because our government is drowning in debt. Ironic? The country we're trying to economically destroy through trade wars is also our second largest creditor. China holds massive amounts of American debt, and they're certainly not going to help us win a trade war against themselves.
In the United States, the majority of enterprises, workplaces, factories, offices, stores are privately owned, privately operated as private enterprises. That is not the case in China. China is a hybrid.
Here's where most Americans get it completely wrong. We keep celebrating our free market system while ignoring a crucial fact. China's hybrid economy is running circles around us. Half of China's economy operates under private ownership, just like ours. But here's the kicker. The other half is government-owned and coordinated. When private companies can't or won't do something because it's not profitable enough, the Chinese government steps in and makes it happen. Need a high-speed rail system? Government builds it. Need to redirect trade away from America during a trade war? Government coordinates it, need to mobilize resources for national priorities. Government orchestrates it.
Why do we have unemployment? It's not profitable to hire those people, so we don't. Why do we not have a very good fast train system? Not profitable.
What does America do? We fire government employees and hand everything over to private companies, then wonder why we can't compete with a coordinated economic system that combines the best of both worlds.
For the last 30 years, the Chinese economy has grown 2 to 3 times faster than the U.S. That's a fact.
For 30 years straight, China's economy has grown 2 to 3 times faster than America's. This isn't propaganda. These are hard numbers that make uncomfortable reading for anyone who still believes in American economic superiority. While we argue about whether government intervention is ideologically pure, China builds the world's best transportation infrastructure, becomes the manufacturing hub for everything from smartphones to electric vehicles, and creates trade relationships that span continents.
The reality is they have a coordinated economic system. They are not held back by an ideology, because that's all it is, that the private is good and the government is bad.
Our response? We convince ourselves that Chinese workers are just more disciplined or work harder. That's not analysis, that's cope. The real reason is systemic. They have a government that can coordinate economic strategy, while we have a government that's ideologically committed to staying out of the way.
We are becoming the object of efforts by the rest of the world to contain something that scares them about the United States.
But wait, there's more to this story that should make every American deeply uncomfortable. Like, we're not just losing an economic competition, we're becoming the country that other nations actively try to contain. Remember when containment was our strategy? After World War II, we built military bases around the globe, conducted psychological warfare, and fought proxy conflicts, all in the name of containing Soviet communism. Now, the tables have turned so dramatically that the rest of the world is trying to figure out how to contain us.
The only significant support that Israel has, money, weapons, political cover, is from the United States. And the global disagreement with Israel's policies in Gaza is becoming attached to the United States.
Gaza has become America's albatross. While the vast majority of nations condemn Israeli tactics, America stands virtually alone in providing unlimited military and financial support. United Nations votes see hundreds of countries opposing American positions, with only Israel and maybe 1 or 2 others standing with us. We've managed to isolate ourselves on one of the most emotionally charged issues of our time.
Mr. Trump has hit one country after another with tariffs. Countries that considered us as their close friends, their warm allies. Mexico, Canada, many European countries now look upon the United States as a danger.
Tariffs have become America's weapon of choice, but we're wielding them like a drunk with a sledgehammer. Mexico, Canada, European allies, countries that considered us their closest partners, now find themselves threatened daily by American trade policies. We've moved beyond traditional trade disputes into something that looks suspiciously like economic warfare, but here's where it gets truly bizarre. We're now threatening secondary tariffs. Buy oil from Venezuela? We'll punish you with tariffs even though your transaction has nothing to do with us. This isn't normal international behavior. This is the kind of aggressive overreach that makes other countries start looking for alternatives to dealing with us entirely.
We are becoming isolated as countries find themselves not in a discussion about trade relations, but under threats, daily threats from the leader of the United States, who doesn't even hesitate to imply or suggest military action if not given what he demands.
The American Navy patrols the South China Sea while there's no comparable Chinese presence in the Gulf of Mexico. We maintain hundreds of military bases worldwide while calling other countries aggressive. We've imposed thousands of sanctions on businesses, industries, and entire nations, then act surprised when the world starts to see us as the aggressor. Quick pause here. If you're finding this analysis eye-opening, you might want to stick around because what comes next will fundamentally change how you think about America's place in the world. The subscription button is right there, and trust me, you don't want to miss where this story leads. Panama Canal, Greenland, making Canada the 51st state. These aren't campaign jokes anymore. American political leaders are openly discussing seizing territory belonging to sovereign nations, using language that sounds ripped from the worst chapters of colonial history. When was the last time you heard leaders from other major powers threaten to militarily acquire parts of distant continents?
European countries are giving advisories to their tourists not to come to the United States the way they once did.
European countries are advising their citizens to reconsider tourism to America. Canadians are changing vacation plans. Business leaders worldwide are quietly discussing how to reduce their dependence on American markets and American financial systems. This isn't happening because America is getting stronger. It's happening because desperate powers often become dangerous powers.
The whole world has said enough with the embargo on Cuba. You've been doing it for over half a century.
Cuba represents perhaps the most absurd example of American policy dysfunction. For over half a century, we've maintained an embargo that has failed at every stated objective. Change the Cuban government? Didn't happen. Alter Cuban society? Didn't happen. The only measurable result has been punishing ordinary Cuban citizens while strengthening the resolve of Cuban leadership.
Why are you holding a grudge like that? Even your President Obama relaxed it for a while. You're now revving it up again?
Every other major nation on earth has voted to end this embargo. Even our own President Obama relaxed it temporarily. But we've doubled down again, maintaining a grudge that serves no strategic purpose while damaging our credibility with virtually every other country on the planet.
China, given their solid alliances and a powerful government, they are in much better shape to redirect their economy, to compensate for the trade war with the United States. They're in a better position to manage that than we are here at our end.
What we're witnessing isn't America choosing isolation. It's America being isolated by the consequences of its own actions. When your trade policy consists primarily of threats, when your foreign policy looks increasingly imperial, when your economic strategy ignores the mathematical reality that you represent less than 5% of global population. Other countries start making plans that don't include you.
When we do that, in a trade war with China, who has a powerful government stepping in, coordinating, and making it all work in the way that they want it to, we are shooting ourselves in the foot.
China's confidence isn't bluster. It's backed by 30 years of economic growth, stronger international alliances, and a government system that can actually coordinate national strategy. When Chinese leaders say they don't need America, they're not making empty threats. They're stating a reality that American policymakers seem determined to ignore.
But because we have the ideology that the government shouldn't be doing things, we keep the government small.
The most dangerous aspect of this situation isn't that America might lose a trade war. It's that America doesn't seem to understand it's already losing. While we debate ideological purity and celebrate the superiority of uncoordinated markets, other countries are building the economic relationships and political alliances that will define the next century. We're paying a heavy price for an economic system that prioritizes private profit over national coordination, individual enterprise over collective strategy. China didn't become America's primary economic rival by accident. They did it by combining market mechanisms with government planning in ways that American ideology refuses to even consider.
But it's enough to say this is unique behavior, it is rare behavior, it is nasty, it is aggressive, it is hurtful, it is frightening people around the world.
Here's what nobody in Washington wants to acknowledge. America has a choice. We can continue down this path of aggressive isolation, watching our allies drift away while our rivals grow stronger, or we can recognize that the world has changed and adapt accordingly. The alternative isn't surrender, it's pragmatism. It's recognizing that a country representing 4.5% of global population can't indefinitely dictate terms to the other 95.5%. It's understanding that economic systems combining private enterprise with government coordination aren't ideological betrayals. They're practical solutions to complex problems.
We are becoming isolated, a pariah. And the people of the world are looking at us and asking the question that I gave the title of this talk to. U.S. becoming rogue?
The most serious thing about to hit America isn't a foreign invasion or natural disaster. It's the mathematical reality of a multipolar world where American dominance was always going to be temporary. The question isn't whether this transition will happen, but whether America will adapt to it gracefully or fight it destructively until isolation becomes complete. What happens next depends on whether Americans can handle the truth about our changing position in the world, or whether we'll keep doubling down on strategies that are turning former allies into neutral observers and neutral countries into active rivals. The choice is ours, but the window for making it intelligently is closing faster than most people realize. Subscribe to our channel to stay updated with unknown political factors turning into choas.